a great time, and hopefully next year.
And maybe even some of us older owners is, but I'm back.
What's up, Game Boys and Girls? Big T here, back with another video. How y'all doing out there in internet land? This video is going to be, pretty simple topic. One I didn't really think about until the recent Juices Loose podcast. Shout out to the boys. Links in the description below if you want to make sure you join and check out our podcast. We started talking about what Nintendo usually does and their our expectations for their next console, and should they or should they not do a gimmick or whatnot. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's funny how people perceive gimmicks and what that actually means. A gimmick is basically anything that gets you or tries to get you to buy something, right? It's a marketing ploy, if you will. I would often say that the gimmick for the PS2 and the reason that it's the highest selling game console of all time, it's nothing to do with the game console-ness of the console, of why it sold as much as it did. Obviously, it had something to do with its sales, but I'm saying for it to sell the astronomical numbers that it sold, it had to do with the gimmick, and that gimmick was DVD playback. And I know people today, or younger people, don't understand the impact of that, but in 2000, DVD was very new. It was a very good product. I know if you look at DVDs today, you're like, oh, that doesn't look that good. But coming from VHS, DVD looked to us the way Blu-ray or even 4K Blu-ray looks to people today. It was a huge, significant step up from what we were getting with the crotchety old VHS tapes, which I still have nostalgia for and love. And the DVD player at that time was a very expensive device. I remember my girlfriend at the time bought me one, a standalone one. It was a Panasonic, and it was over $500. It was like $550 or something, just for the DVD player. And that was in, I want to say 99, because it had to be like 99, because my first two DVDs. Oh great, my alarm goes off. My first two DVDs were The Matrix and Blade, and they looked fantastic to me at the time. I remember just being blown away at the visual fidelity of it, and so that was amazing. And the price, again, $500 just for the DVD player, a good one. And the DVD player in the PlayStation 2 is a good DVD player. So Sony was losing their butts on PS2 sales. Estimates were around $250 to $300 per console sold. And Sony at that time could afford that because they were, even bigger than they are now as far as their reach, the electronics, and all the stuff that they did. They were bigger than they are now. So they could afford that, and they thought it was worth it just to get PS2s in people's homes so they can sell them DVDs as well, because Sony owns a music studio. Sony owns a music production company. They own a movie studio and production company. And so it wasn't just being able to sell you video games, it was also being able to sell you music CDs you can play in your PS2, and movies, obviously, you can play in your PS2. They had a huge incentive to take that loss. And so that was a gimmick. And I don't think people look down on that gimmick. Usually when people talk about gimmicks, it's in a negative connotation, whereas like the Wii, the gimmick was the Wii remote, and motion controls was the gimmick. And people look at that negatively. They use that negatively in an argument. And the Switch, the current highest selling console, and might, I hope, smash the PS2 number, because it's a pure gaming console, and that's what I want at the top. Um, its gimmick is playing games on the go. Now, we take it for granted now because we have all these handheld PCs coming out and just handheld in general. But that wasn't a new thing. That wasn't a thing in 2017 when the Switch came out. And being able to play console games on the go, being able to play, games from the 7th gen, 360, PS3 era games on the go on a handheld was it was mind blowing, without compromise. That was a very cool thing, and that was a big part of the gimmick for the Switch. Obviously, the portability of it is a gimmick. I don't think people look at that negatively. People kind of pick and choose what a negative gimmick is. But anyway, we were talking about the Switch 2 and what it would have and what it may not have. There is a chance that it may not be backwards compatible, although I think the chance goes down a little bit when you have a situation where it's confirmed that Nintendo is bringing over its infrastructure, its online infrastructure. So it'd be kind of weird to be able to have, Switch games online, your library there, but you can't play Switch games in the Switch 2. That to me signals that it will be backwards compatible. But it's also like, well, what are they going to do with carts? Because we still get carts on the Switch that only have part of the game on them. And that's crazy, and it's not like we're talking about huge games. These companies don't only spring for a 16 gigabyte card, sometimes they don't want to spring for an 8 gigabyte card. They'll put, a little bit on the cart and then have you download the rest. And so if that's the situation now, what are we going to do with these games that are bigger, right? How is this going to work? I would hope that Nintendo would eat a lot of that cost, because this is the medium they decided to choose. This is the medium they decided to go with, and they should take a little bit of a loss. I don't think they will, but that would be my solution, is that Nintendo takes on the cost of these carts and brings them down. You don't have to be CD or DVD or Blu-ray costs, which are significantly lower, I'm guessing, than a hardware disc or hardware cart. But they need to take on some of the costs and incentivize these companies to put the full game, because this downloading part of the game, I don't buy those. I don't want to buy those games. I bought one, and I kind of regret it. But I've since went out and bought the disc version of that game on another system. But I have no reason to buy a game that's not fully on the cart just because it's in the box. It's going to have no value when those servers aren't up anymore. So they have to figure out what they're going to do with the disc medium or the storage medium, whatever they're going to use for the games and what they're going to go on. Obviously, companies like Valve with the Steam Deck, they don't have to worry about that. They have the luxury of already cultivating their audience to be used to digital downloads only. And I love my Steam Deck, and I get a lot of games on it, but I also go back and buy a physical copy of most of the games. I make a little list of Steam Deck games that I buy, and I make a little list to get the digital or physical version of those games at a later date, or when I can get a good sale on it, make it cheap or whatever, or cheaper as it can be. So yeah, I mean, they have to figure out what they're going to do with that. And so we just got to talking about, gimmicks and what Nintendo needs to do. I think Terminator Juice's point of view was just make a more powerful Switch, which I kind of think they're going to do for the most part. They may throw in some curveball to do something a little different, but I don't think they're going to do anything crazy with the Switch 2. I just don't, because mainly because of the Nintendo's current president, Furukawa. I just think he's a numbers business guy. He doesn't come from gaming. He doesn't come from game development or anything like that. And I just think he won't really care about that. He's going to look at the numbers. The Switch has done fantastically well. And it's a mostly traditional console. It has quote unquote gimmicks on it that have barely been utilized. Like the camera on the Joy-Con, which they're going to be using a little bit more here with the WarioWare game. And there's something else. There's like that music game that reminded me of Wii Music, which is not what you want to remind people of. But yeah, so they're going to have to figure out what they're going to do. But I think it's just going to be basically a more powerful Switch. I'm guessing PS4 power wise, which is a little bit under Steam Deck. Steam Deck is between PS4 and probably PS4 Pro as far as what it can do. But I don't think they will go to, because they got the battery life. There's only so much you can do with the battery life with demanding games. It's gonna eat your battery life a lot. And I think if you can come around 3 hours, if you can get around 3 hours with your device for your battery's life, that would be good. So if Nintendo can figure that out, 3 hours for like demanding game or more demanding games, and then obviously 4 or 5 for indie games or games that aren't as demanding. So yeah, I don't think they're gonna go too crazy with it. I'd be surprised. I'm hoping that they do. I'm guessing they'll do an upgrade with the Joy-Cons. I think they'll still keep that Joy-Con aesthetic to it, but I think they'll do a more modern or up-to-date version of the Joy-Con, something similar to these, I think, because the whole one person using one Joy-Con, one person using another, that doesn't really happen a lot, and this still works for that. You can obviously, it doesn't have the same ergonomics to where it feels like more flat in your hand, but I can still easily, if I want to do split Joy-Con play and hand off a Joy-Con to somebody else. I don't think that really happens that much. Probably more with kids, but they're gonna have to update the Joy-Cons for sure. The build quality is an issue, at least with the original Switch versions. I'm not sure about the OLED. I think the OLED's probably a little bit more sturdier built, but they're gonna have to, get back to Nintendo quality hardware as far as the build quality. So yeah, that's it for this video. I mean, we'll see what they do. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think they're gonna do with the Switch 2? They're gonna make it more powerful. What are they gonna do about the cartridge medium or the disc medium? What are they gonna do with that? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching and listening, and now see you fools next time. Peace out.